Private Casey Flynn's hand was still raised in salute when Drill Sergeant Marcus Hale's face transformed from professional assessment to barely contained mockery. And in that 1.3 seconds before his laughter exploded across Fort Benning's parade ground, Casey knew she'd made a catastrophic mistake revealing her actual call sign instead of inventing something conventional. "Ghost," Hale repeated, voice climbing from normal volume to parade ground bellow that carried across 3 training companies assembled for morning formation. "Did you just tell me your preferred tactical call sign is Ghost? Like you're some kind of supernatural entity? Like you're going to float through walls and haunt the enemy?" 200 basic combat training recruits erupted in laughter that felt like physical assault, and Casey maintained rigid attention position while her face burned with humiliation and her brain screamed warnings about operational security protocols, enlistment records carefully omitted. Was that Ghost? Wasn't call sign she'd chosen for coolness factor or video game fantasy. It was operational designation assigned to her 6 years earlier when Defense Intelligence Agency had recruited her at 16 for surveillance work so classified that acknowledging its existence would violate multiple federal statutes and international agreements. At 16, Casey Flynn had been technical prodigy living in foster care in Detroit, Michigan, building surveillance systems from scavenged electronics and selling them to local businesses for security monitoring. Her systems were so sophisticated that they'd attracted attention from people who didn't identify their government affiliation but offered her choice: juvenile detention for illegal electronic surveillance, or putting her skills to work for DIA's Special Collection Service, doing things that officially never happened. She'd chosen the work, spent next 6 years becoming youngest operative in program that specialized in technical surveillance in denied areas, embassies, government facilities, locations where traditional intelligence gathering was impossible. Ghost was designation given to her by DI handlers because of her signature capability, installing surveillance equipment in impossible locations without being detected, moving through secured facilities like she didn't exist, completing operations that senior operatives said were tactically impossible. By 18, she'd conducted operations in. Before we continue, please comment below where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to the She Force Tales channel. 7 countries. By 20, she'd installed listening devices in locations that would cause international incidents if revealed. By 22, she decided she was done living in shadows, doing work nobody could ever acknowledge, and enlisted in regular army, hoping to find normal military career where her skills were used openly rather than hidden. Her recruitment into DIA had required her to sign non-disclosure agreements so comprehensive that she couldn't even acknowledge the program existed. When she'd enlisted, her DIA service had been completely scrubbed from official records, replaced with vague references to technical school and private employment that raised no questions. She'd been explicitly ordered to never reveal her DIA background, never use her operational designation, never reference her previous work under any circumstances. And she just violated all 3 directives because nervous recruit brain had defaulted to familiar identity when Hale had demanded call signs during first formation. Now, standing at attention while 200 people laughed at Ghost designation that represented 6 years of classified operations they couldn't imagine, Casey was calculating damage. Would DIA pull her out of training for operational security breach? Would her actual background be exposed, destroying cover story? Would revealing real call sign trouble of washing you out in week 3 when you realize real military doesn't match whatever fantasy you built in your head? Casey's response came out flat and automatic, trained response from 6 years of operational discipline. "No, Drill Sergeant. No." Hale moved closer, voice dropping to dangerous quiet that somehow carried further than shouting. "You telling me no, Private?" "No, Drill Sergeant. I meant I will complete training, Drill Sergeant." Hale smiled without humor. "We'll see about that, Ghost. We'll see if you can handle real military training or if you're just smoke and mirrors." Formation was dismissed, but damage was done. For next 3 weeks, Casey became company joke. Ghost called out mockingly during PT, whispered during inspections, used as punchline whenever she made minor mistake. Other recruits assumed she was wannabe who'd crumble under pressure. Hale assumed she was delusional kid who needed reality check. None of them could have predicted what would happen during Week 4 field training exercise, when Casey's actual capabilities would surface in ways that would validate 6 years of classified work and force everyone to reconsider what Ghost actually meant. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. To understand how teenage DIA operative ended up as most mocked recruit in basic training, and why that mockery would transform, Casey Flynn was 16 when 2 federal agents appeared at her foster home with choice that would define next 6 years of her life. She'd been living in Detroit's East Side since her parents died in car accident when she was 12, bouncing between foster homes, mostly keeping to herself, spending every free moment building electronic systems she sold to local businesses. Her specialty was surveillance equipment, custom security cameras with facial recognition, motion sensors that could distinguish between humans and animals, listening devices that could isolate specific voices in crowded environments. She built everything from salvaged components, disassembled smartphones, repurposed laptop cameras, circuit boards pulled from discarded electronics, made decent money selling systems to corner stores, small businesses, even few homeowners who wanted security without paying retail prices. What landed her in federal crosshairs was installation she'd done for client who turned out to be under DEA investigation. Her surveillance system had been so sophisticated that it had inadvertently captured federal agents conducting surveillance, complete with facial recognition, tagging, and movement pattern analysis. DEA had been furious, wanted her prosecuted for interference with federal investigation. But someone at Defense Intelligence Agency had seen her system specifications and decided she was more useful as asset than defendant. The 2 agents, they never gave real names, just called themselves Smith and Jones like bad movie, laid out situation with brutal clarity. You're facing. Casey had sat silently, understanding exactly how serious this was. Or, Smith continued, you can put those skills to work for us. Special Collections Service. You'll be doing technical surveillance work in locations where we can't use conventional operatives. Completely classified. Your juvenile record gets sealed, charges disappear, and you earn salary that's considerably better than selling cameras to corner stores. What kind of locations? Casey had asked. Jones smiled. The kind we can't tell you about until you sign non-disclosure agreements, so thick you'll get hand cramps. But I can say this. Your talent for getting surveillance equipment into impossible places without being detected would be extremely valuable to certain intelligence operations. She'd signed the NDAs, passed background investigation, despite being 16, an intertraining program that taught her things that would never appear in any manual. Advanced lockpicking, building infiltration techniques, counter-surveillance methods, how to install listening devices inside embassy walls without leaving evidence, how to bypass security systems that cost millions to install, how to move through secured facilities like she didn't exist. Her code name, Ghost, was assigned during her first operational deployment when she'd successfully installed audio surveillance. Over the next 6 years, Casey conducted operations in Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, Germany, Venezuela, and 2 countries she still couldn't name even in classified debriefs. Installed surveillance equipment in locations ranging from embassy offices to government facilities to corporate headquarters of companies with sensitive defense contracts. Her specialty was impossible installations, places where conventional operatives said it couldn't be done, locations where security was so tight that infiltration seemed impossible. She'd crawl through ventilation systems, rappel down elevator shafts, bypass biometric security, install microscopic cameras and listening devices, then exit without anyone knowing she'd been there. By 20, she'd become one of DIA's most valuable technical surveillance operatives despite being young enough that some targets had children older than her. But the work took toll that nobody had warned her about. Living in constant state of operational security where she couldn't tell anyone what she did. Missing normal teenage experiences because she was on deployment installing bugs in foreign embassies. Never forming real relationships because everyone in her life was either handler, target, or civilian she couldn't trust with truth. At 22, after installation in Middle Eastern facility that had nearly gotten her killed when security almost detected her, Casey had made decision. She was done being ghost. They'd agreed on condition that she maintain absolute operational security. Her DI service would be completely scrubbed from records, replaced with cover story, and she'd never reference her previous work. She'd enlisted in Army as regular recruit, thinking basic training would be fresh start where she could finally be normal soldier instead of shadow operative. Then Hale had demanded call signs during first formation, and stressed recruit brain had defaulted to familiar identity, revealing designation she'd been explicitly ordered to hide. For first 3 weeks at Fort Benning, Casey endured relentless mockery of her ghost call sign. Drill Sergeant Hale seemed to take personal offense at what he perceived as disrespectful wannabe behavior, made example of her at every opportunity. During PT, "Come on, Ghost, show us those supernatural powers. Or are you too busy haunting the barracks?" During inspections, "Ghost, your wall locker looks like it was organized by actual Ghost. Invisible standards." During weapons training, "Maybe Ghost can just scare the enemy to death instead of actually learning to shoot." Other recruits picked up on it, used Ghost as punchline whenever Casey struggled with anything. She deliberately underperformed during first weeks, trying to blend in, trying to be normal recruit instead of drawing attention. But years of operational discipline made it difficult. Her locker was always perfect because she'd learned organizational systems from intelligence work. Her PT scores were excellent because DIA training had required high fitness levels. Her attention to detail during cleaning and maintenance was exceptional because technical surveillance required precision, and she had habit of moving silently. Years of infiltration training made it automatic to walk without sound, to position herself where she wasn't immediately noticed, to slip into rooms without anyone registering her presence. Other recruits found it unnerving. "Ghost just appears out of nowhere," one complained. "Like she's actually invisible or something." Hale dismissed it as coincidence, continued his mockery. But Staff Sergeant Angela Torres, assistant drill instructor who actually paid attention, had started noticing patterns. Casey consistently scored perfect or near perfect on land navigation, like she'd been doing it for years. Her weapon handling showed familiarity that shouldn't exist in brand new recruit. Her tactical awareness during training exercises was unusually sophisticated. Torres pulled Casey aside after week 2. "Private Flynn, your enlistment records show you worked in technical school before joining." "What kind of technical school?" "Electronics and security systems, Staff Sergeant." Casey replied with truth that omitted everything important. "Uh-huh. And that taught you land navigation and tactical movement." "No, Staff Sergeant. Just pick things up." Torres studied her carefully. "You're hiding something, Flynn." "Don't know what, but I know when recruit has prior training they're not reporting." "You prior service? Some other branch?" "No, Staff Sergeant. Just a recruit like everyone else." Torres let it drop, but kept watching. The validation of Ghost came during Week 4 field training exercise, 3-day tactical operation designed to test everything recruits had learned. Scenario: Alpha Company split into 2 elements, Blue Force and Red Force, OPFOR, opposing force. Blue Force's mission: navigate through wooded training area, locate and capture high-value target, role player. Exfiltrate without being detected by Red Force patrols. Red Force's mission: patrol training area, prevent Blue Force from reaching objective, capture any Blue Force elements they detected. Hale commanded Blue Force. Torres commanded Red Force. Each force had approximately 100 recruits divided into squads. Casey was assigned to Blue Force Squad 3, led by recruit Sergeant Morrison, experienced prior service National Guardsman who'd been given leadership role. Pre-mission briefing. Hale addressed Blue Force. "This is your chance to demonstrate tactical proficiency or expose yourselves as incompetent. Red Force will be actively patrolling. You will be graded on stealth, coordination, and mission completion." He looked directly at Casey. "Ghost, try not to get your entire squad captured because you think you're invisible. In real combat, Enemy can actually see you. Laughter from formation. Mission began at 2100 hours. Full darkness, Georgia wilderness, 150 meters through enemy patrol zones to objective. Squad 3 moved out with Morrison on point. Within 20 minutes, they'd nearly walked into Red Force patrol. Only Casey's whispered warning, contact 11 o'clock, 30 meters, prevented them from blundering into ambush. Morrison froze. How did you see them? Movement in shadow. Squad 4 triggered Red Force response by using flashlights. Squad 1 got lost and wandered into training area boundary. By midnight, only Squad 3 and Squad 5 were still operational. Morrison made decision. We're going to try direct approach. Quick movement to objective. Grab the HVT. Exfil before Red Force responds. Casey spoke up. Sergeant, that won't work. Red Force has patrol patterns covering direct approaches. We need to move through gaps in their coverage. And how do you know their patrol patterns, Flynn? Been watching for 40 minutes, Sergeant. They're running predictable routes every 12 minutes. There's a gap that gives us 7-minute window. Morrison stared at her. You've been timing enemy patrols? Yes, Sergeant. It's tactical awareness. Morrison decided to trust her assessment. Following Casey's timing, Squad 3 moved through gap in Red Force patrols, reached objective building without detection. But new problem emerged. Objective building, training facility used for exercise, had Red Force security element guarding it. For recruits, alert, covering all approaches. Morrison, we can't get past them without being detected. Mission's blown. Casey, Sergeant, request permission to conduct reconnaissance. What kind of reconnaissance? I can get close enough to assess their positions, find vulnerability. Morrison was skeptical but desperate. You've got 10 minutes. Don't get caught. What happened next would become legend in Alpha Company. Casey moved into darkness like she'd been doing it professionally for 6 years, because she had. Years of reached building's exterior wall without triggering any detection. Then she did something that should have been impossible for basic training recruit. She climbed. Building was 2-story training facility with exterior that offered minimal handholds. Casey found them anyway, window frames, architectural details, drainage pipes, and climbed a second-floor window. DIA training had included building infiltration. This was easier than embassy in Turkey. Second-floor window was unlocked. Training facility, not actual secure location. She slipped inside, moved through dark building with night vision clarity developed through years of operating in complete darkness. Found stairs, descended to first floor where HVE, role player sergeant playing capture target, was secured in mock detention area. The HVE saw her approach, whispered, Blue Force? How the hell did you get in here? Doesn't matter, Sergeant. We're at guard positions. 4 guards outside, 2 more patrolling interior. You're going to get captured. Not planning on it, Sergeant. Casey moved to side exit, observed Red Force patrol patterns. Found 7-minute gap between patrols. Same pattern analysis she'd used to get Squad 3 through initial approach. Return to HVT. Sergeant, in 4 minutes, there will be gap in external patrol. Can you move quickly? I'm supposed to be injured for realism. Can you move if mission success requires it? HVT. Morrison's voice crackled back. Flynn, how are you on internal radio? I'm inside the objective building, Sergeant. Bring the squad to side exit exactly 3 minutes from now. You're inside? How did you? Never mind. Moving now. Casey guided HVT to side exit, timing based on Red Force patrol patterns she'd memorized. At exactly 0:47 hours, Morrison and Squad 3 arrived at side exit just as Casey emerged with HVT. Red Force patrol passed their position 30 seconds later, too late to intercept. Squad 3 exfiltrated with HVT without single shot being fired or single detection being made. They were first and only squad to successfully complete mission. Next morning, entire company assembled for after-action review. Hale was furious. Only 1 squad completed the mission. Squad 3, somehow, managed to infiltrate past Red Force, extract the HVT from secured building, and exfiltrate without detection. Sergeant Morrison, explain how your squad accomplished this. Morrison stood. Credit goes to Private Flynn, Drill Sergeant. She conducted reconnaissance, infiltrated the objective building, coordinated timing with Red Force patrol gaps, and extracted the HVD. Silence across formation. Hale's face showed he thought this was joke. Private Flynn infiltrated a secured building? By herself? Without being detected, Staff Sergeant Torres stepped forward. Drill Sergeant Hale, I need to confirm. I was commanding Red Force. We never detected Squad 3's approach. Never knew anyone had entered the objective building until we found it empty. Private Flynn bypassed all security without triggering single alert. Hale looked at Casey like seeing her for first time. Private Flynn, front and center. Casey moved to front of formation, came to attention. Hale circled her again, but this time without mockery. You climbed a 2-story building in darkness? Bypass guards? Moved through secured facility without detection? Yes, Drill Sergeant. Where did you learn those skills, Private? And here Casey faced impossible choice. Tell truth and violate NDAs, or lie and maintain cover. She chose middle path, previous employment, Drill Sergeant. Security systems installation. Required working in difficult access locations. Hale studied her with new assessment, security systems. Yes, Drill Sergeant. Torres intervened. Private Flynn's enlistment records indicate previous employment in technical security field. Skills apparently transfer to tactical infiltration. Hale wasn't stupid. He clearly suspected there was more to story. But he also recognized that whatever Casey's background, she'd just demonstrated capabilities that exceeded anything he'd expected from basic training recruit. He addressed formation. Private Flynn's call sign is Ghost. For 3 weeks, I mocked that designation as pretentious nonsense. He looked directly at Casey. I apologize, Private Flynn. Your call sign is earned, not pretentious. From this point forward, Ghost is official tactical designation, and anyone who mocks it will answer to me. Understood. Yes, Drill Sergeant. Formation erupted in applause. Recruits who'd been mocking her for weeks, now showing respect. But Hale pulled her aside after formation. Private Flynn, I don't know what you did before enlisting, and I'm not going to push. But those skills didn't come from installing security cameras in office buildings. If you ever want to talk about your actual background, my door is open. Thank you, Drill Sergeant. But there's nothing I can discuss. He nodded. Understood. But know this, whatever you did before, you're real deal. Don't hide it. Military needs operators like you. Casey graduated basic training with honors. Her Ghost call sign now spoken with respect rather than mockery. During graduation ceremony, Hale pulled her aside one final time. Your orders came through. You're assigned to 75th Ranger Regiment. That's not normal assignment for basic training graduate. Usually requires Ranger school and specific selection. Someone at regiment specifically requested you. Casey's stomach dropped. Requested me, Drill Sergeant? Your file must have triggered something. Probably your performance during field exercises. Take it as compliment, Private. But Casey knew what had really happened. Her attempt to be normal had failed spectacularly. But maybe that was the point. Maybe Ghost wasn't just call sign. It was who she actually was. 6 years of operating in shadows had made her into operator who couldn't pretend to be regular soldier. Couldn't hide capabilities that defined her. As she prepared to report to regiment, Casey made peace with reality. She was a normal recruit playing at being special. She was Ghost, operative who'd earned designation through 6 years of impossible missions, who'd proven it again during basic training field exercise, who'd always be most dangerous person in room, even when everyone assumed she was just another soldier. Hale had learned not to judge by appearances. Her fellow recruits had learned that quiet people with ridiculous call signs sometimes had reasons nobody understood. And Casey had learned that some identities couldn't be escaped. They could only be owned. She was Ghost, and that was exactly who she needed to be.